Hey, Mr. Simonini here. This video is all about graphing in factored form. So the previous two videos were, one was about standard form, one was about vertex form. This one is going to be about factored form. So there's going to be two examples, problem number 3 and problem number 4. So when you look at problem number 3, again, this is in factor form. So this is what it looks like what's in factor form. Whenever you have basically a binomial times a binomial, two parentheses. So in order to find the vertex in factor form, remember what you need to do is you need to find the x-intercepts first, or the solutions we say. So if you look here, the x-intercepts, it's going to be the opposite of these numbers. So it's opposite of these numbers. So the opposite of -1 will be 1, and the opposite of 7 will be -7. Now, since you have your x-intercepts, now you can find the x of the vertex. Now the x of the vertex is going to be, the formula for it is you find your x-intercepts, in this case we did, and then we divide it by 2. You find the middle of them. You find the middle of your x-intercepts. So in this case it'd be 1 plus the -7 divided by 2, which is going to be -6 divided by 2 if you simplify the top, which is going to be -3. So my x of my vertex is going to be -3. Now I find the y of the vertex. I kind of ran out of room. Let's go up here. So the y of the vertex is going to be, you got to plug -3 in. So in this case, it's going to be -3 minus 1, and then -3 plus 7. And then you can plug this in your calculator to get the y of the vertex. So if you look here, I already have that typed in. I believe it's typed in this one. There you go. So again, I plugged it in my calculator, and I get an answer of -16, which is fine. It's going to be a little bit off the graph, actually. That is correct, though. So -3, -16 is going to be my vertex. Now, again, I have to do two numbers before -3, which in this case would be -4 and -5, and two numbers after it, which will be -2 and -1. You go to your graph. I already have the graph, be the third one. So this is my graph. Remember, you hit the little gear button, you hit the table button, and then you can put whatever x's you want inside of here. So in this case, I'm really messing that one up. -2, -1. Actually, wait. It doesn't really matter, sorry. Here we go. -4, -5, and then -2, and then -1. And if you look there, I get my other points. So in this case, it's going to be -4, -15, -5, -12. So I got -12, -15, -2, -15, and then -1, -12 will go here. Now, it is going to go a little bit off the graph. So in this case, I am going to extend my graph here. So this be -11, -12, -13, -14, -15, -16. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and plot my points. So -3, -16 will be right about there. Again, I'm just estimating a little bit. And then you have to do -4, -15, so which would be right about there. And then make sure it's a little bit more in line with the -4. And then, so again, you're just kind of eyeballing it here. So it might be a little bit tricky, but hopefully you're getting the idea. -5, -12, which will be right about here. And then -1, -12, which will be right here. I'm going to go ahead and graph it. Now, the reason why I want to show this one is because I'm going to answer some questions here just to be really, really straightforward. So it looks like you have no x-intercepts. It looks like you have no y-intercepts, but you actually do. Before I get to it, though, let's go ahead and answer these questions. So this be -3, -16. Is this a max or mid? Well, it's opening up, so it's going to be a mid. My domain is -infinity to +infinity. My range is, again, it's opening up, so be bottom y, which is going to be -16, all the way to infinity. So -16 to infinity. How many solutions are there? So again, it looks like there's going to be no solutions here. But understand, this keeps going on forever and ever, right? Up. if you look at your graph here, now again, I just eyeballed it here. This is your graph. If you look at your graph, again, these are the points that we plotted, but it goes on forever and ever, and it actually they do have x-intercepts or solutions. So if you look here, and we actually talked about that up here as well. Remember, solutions are x-intercepts. We actually know what the solutions and x-intercepts are. In this case, it's going to be 1 and -7. So if I really wanted to add another point on here, I could have done that. 5, 6, 7. I could have added that, and then I could extend my lines up into that, just to be clear. All right, that was a bad one. So again, it goes on forever and ever, just to be clear. So how many solutions are there? There are 2 solutions. Now, so again, there's 2 solutions. My y-intercept is whenever x is 0. So whenever x is 0, again, you can plug in 0 in for x if you want to. In this case, it's going to be -7. You can also look at decimals.com and see where it hits the y-axis. You can just click on it and it will do it. Or you can just put it in your table and just put 0 and it will give you -7. So just to be even more clear, again, this line is not really perfect. I could have added another point here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could have added another point, which is right there, and I could have been even more precise with this graph. So if you look there, so just to be clear, the y-intercept is going to be 0, -7. So again, that is how you can graph in factored form. And this one went off a little bit off the graph, so it was a little bit different. So hopefully that made sense. Let's go ahead and do another one. So number 4. Now if you look here, I have an x outside. Remember from last week, whenever you have an x outside, that means one of your x-intercepts is 0. So one of my x-intercepts is going to be 0 because of the x outside. My other x-intercept is going to be the opposite of that. My opposite of that is going to be 6. So again, you take the opposite of this number for the x-intercept. To find the x of the vertex, again, what you do is you add these 2 numbers, your x-intercepts, and you divide it by 2, which is just going to be 6 divided by 2, which is 3. So what goes in the middle of my table is going to be 3. To find the y of the vertex, again, if you had to do it by hand, this is how you do it by hand. Whoa, that kind of went laggy on me. The y of the vertex is going to be negatives, I'm plugging in 3, so -3 times 3 minus 6. Again, I'm plugging 3 into the equation. There's a negative in front, so that's why it's -3 at the beginning. So I go ahead and look at my calculator. I already had to plug in. If you want to, plug it in, you can. You get an answer of 9. So my y and my vertex is going to be 9. So again, my x and my vertex is 3. My y and my vertex is 9. Now I do 2 numbers before, 2 numbers after. Go to decimals.com, plug it in if you need to. I already have that plugged in. Go to my table and get these numbers. So again, it was 3 here. It was 2 here. It was 1 here. And then this was 4. And then this was 5. So again, I have these points that are popping up. Those are the points I'm going to graph. So what is it? 5 and 8. So again, my table will be 5, 8. So it'll be 8, 5 here. So again, I like graphing my vertex first. So 3, 9. And then I had 2, 8, 4, 8, and then 1, 2, 3. So this is going to be 1, 5, and then 5, 5. So again, this is going to be my parabola. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and plot the other points that I do know of before I graph it actually this time. I learned my lesson from last one. So my x-intercept is 0. My other x-intercept is going to be 6. So again, you can plot those x-intercepts if you want to as well, because we know what they are. But anyways, my vertex here, again, what's my highest point would be 3, 9. It's opening down, so this is going to be max. Negative infinity to positive infinity. This case, the range is going to be negative infinity to my top y, which is going to be 9 in this case. Again, it's opening down, so negative infinity to top y. How many solutions are there? There are 2 x-intercepts. So in this case, there would be 2 solutions. So this would be super clear. My y-intercept, again, this is where x is 0. So when x is 0, again, you can plug in 0 in for x if you want to. In this case, it will be 0 if you put it in your calculator. This is also crossing the x and y axis at 0, 0, just to be clear. Or you can look at your graph. Where's it hitting the y-axis? Well, it's hitting it at the origin, or 0, 0. Your y-intercept in this case is actually going to be 0, 0. That can happen. In that case, it's happening here. So those are the points you know. So you can go ahead and graph them. So there you go. That's how you graph in factor form. Again, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.